here we are in Bristol again. The idea of today is to explore the floating harbour. We are at Temple Meads and we're going to take a walk out towards the other end where it joins the Avon at the foot of the Clifton suspension bridge. So it links into a previous video I've done. So Josh and I are up for a bit of a walk, aren't we?
I'm sure we can manage that.
Yeah, I'm sure we can manage that. So if you can hear the noise in the background, there's a busy road behind us. And yeah, so we're off to explore. So come with us and find out a little bit more about the historic floating harbour here in Bristol. Thanks for coming. So, what is Bristol's floating harbour? Every good video should start with a map. So here's a map. Pause here if you like and have a closer look if you're not familiar with the area. We're starting today here behind Temple Meads Station. And we're going to walk all the way west to here where it joins the River Avon in sight of the famous Clifton suspension bridge. First question is, why was it created? Well, Bristol is situated on the River Avon. Now that flows into the Severn Estuary just a few miles downstream and from there into the Bristol Channel. And that bad boy has the second greatest tidal range of any river system in the world. At certain times of the year, the water level in Bristol can change by as much as 12 metres. As you can imagine, this caused all sorts of problems for visiting ships, who if they didn't time their visit properly, would end up stuck in the thick oozy mud at the base of the river. And by the end of the 1700s, this was a real problem. And in order to remain competitive, a solution needed to be found. John Smeaton, well known for lighthouse construction, devised a system in 1765. However, it wasn't until the early 1800s that a chap called William Jessup stepped up and designed the system we see today. The final plan saw a lock system which extended from Hotwells in the west to Needham Lock in the east, a distance of around 3.5 miles. Cutting the harbour off from the tides of the River Avon means that the water level and current remain safe and stable for boats, allowing them to float, hence the title, Floating Harbour. And it also acts as a flood defence for the city. So, the harbour took 5 years to build and covers an area of 70 acres, being completed in 1809. Including all the locks and weirs at Hotwell, Needham, Cumberland Basin, the feeder canal and a new cut which diverts the tidal water parallel to it and away from the harbour. So here we are at Prince's Wharf. This is a great part of the system because there's so much going on here. The M Shed that you can see is now a museum, and it's called M Shed because Bristol Docks used to name their buildings using letters of the alphabet, and it was Shed M, or M Shed. Now a museum with loads of stuff to look at, and I will be coming back to look at it. On the quayside here you can see 4 electrically powered cargo cranes built in 1951 by Stoddart and Pitt. These are actually built in Bath, just up the road. I didn't know there was massive engineering going on there, but obviously there is. 3 of them are still operational and operate on some weekends. So we've come a short distance west from M Shed, and now we've come across the last operational example of a fair beam steam crane. Built in 1878, again by Stoddart and Pitt over in Bath, it was actually in use up until 1973, loading and unloading ships and railway wagons with loads of up to 35 tonnes. It's been restored and is now in working order, and sometimes can be seen in steam. And this is the Bristol Harbour Railway, which starts or reaches underneath the cranes behind us and goes off and used to join onto the network. Now it doesn't. However, there are still steam trains on this line, and at certain weekends you can actually take rides on it. So eventually the southern edge of the quay we're walking on ends, and it ends at the boatyard of the SS Great Britain. I'm going to come back and visit this another day because it's too big a subject just to cover here, but basically this amazing boat built by Isambard Kingdom Brunel after a varied history that left it scuttled in the Falkland Islands was refloated and brought back to the original dry dock in which she was built in 1843. Absolutely amazing thing, but as I say, we're not going there today. We'll come back and have a look another time. So that means we then needed to cross the river again to the northern bank, and here at the site of the Great Britain is a little taxi which just takes you backwards and forwards across the river. So we're going to hop on this and get across the other side. It's nice to see the harbour from the water as opposed from the edge. Again, I'm going to come back and I'm going to get, there's several boats popping up and down here. I'm going to come back and hop on one of those and just take a boat trip around the harbour, but that's for another day. So here we are on the other side. Hello ducks, how you doing? The very large Victorian warehouses you can see in the distance there mark the end of the harbour where it joins the River Avon again, and that's where we're headed. This is Brunel Lock and it marks the harbour side entrance to the Cumberland Basin. And as we pass under Plimsoll Bridge we can see the final lock which empties into the River Avon. If you look over there you can see the mud which is characteristic of this part of the waterway, and you can see why they had to build this floating harbour, because that's what the ships would have been stuck in. From where I'm stood here, it is 6 miles down the Avon to where it joins the Severn Estuary, and over there the Clifton Suspension Bridge. This is the entrance lock and the lock office. The lock was opened in 1873 and it can accommodate the largest ships that can navigate the River Avon. The lock gates were originally operated by the hydraulic system from the Underflow yard. More about that later. The tidal range here can be as much as 52 feet or 16 metres. This is the well-known Nova Scotia Hotel that was once a coaching inn. This swivel bridge is Brunel's first large wrought iron bridge. It is older than the suspension bridge and is Bristol's only abandoned structure by Brunel. Now we come to what is possibly my favourite place on the entire system, the Underflow yard. There was always a need to allow excess water to drain from the floating harbour into the Avon below. However, by the end of the 1830s, silt was beginning to build up in the harbour, and as with many Bristol problems, guess who turned up? That's right, good old Isambard Kingdom Brunel came up with the solution. In place of an overfall, he designed 3 shallow sluices and 1 deep scouring sluice between the harbour and the new cut, which is where the River Avon is. What would happen then would be a drag boat would scrape the silt away from all the quay walls. When the deep sluice opened at low tide, a powerful undertow sucked the silt into the river to be carried away on the next tide. The shallow sluices above allowed adjustment of the dock water level according to weather conditions. Now, there's several old buildings here which date from the 1880s and they are wonderful, and they are what remain of the Underflow yard. Many have listed building status. The octagonal brick and terracotta chimney of the hydraulic engine house dates from 1888 and is grade 2 listed, as is the hydraulic engine house itself, which contains a wonderful steam engine. However, today it's all closed, so we couldn't go in and see it, but I will come back because this place is amazing. This yard also houses many businesses that are working today. This amazing boat builders turned up as we turned the corner. Look at the boats in there. That's traditional boat building happening there. And these guys have had a tree delivered, although it's no ordinary tree because it's been cut into slices. As you can see, they're so long that they're floppy. These will go to make a boat in the traditional fashion. This is the raw material for traditional boat builders. Doesn't get much better than that. Well, we've made it all the way to where the floating dock joins the River Avon. So, only one thing for it, we've got to turn round and head on back, all the way to Temple Meads. Let's go. Am I the only one who thinks all these buildings along here are really ugly? What did they do? Did they give the architects a box of Lego and say design something? Wherever you go when they gentrify a waterside area, they seem to build this rubbish. I guess I'm probably going to get into trouble for saying it, but I just do not like this architecture. And here we are crossing the Bristol Amphitheatre on the opposite side of the dock from the M Shed. The hole in the wall here is one of the many ancient pubs to be found in the centre of Bristol, this one dating to 1746. Well, there we are. We've made it all the way back from the terminus with the tidal Avon by Clifton Suspension Bridge, and we're now back at Temple Meads Station, and I'm stood in the glorious engine shed built by Brunel. When the line from Paddington to Bristol originally came here, it terminated here at this engine shed. This is as far as the line went. It was only later, when the Bristol and Exeter line opened to my right, that they brought the line in on a curve to my right, and then it curved off back away and down towards the West Country. But this is still here. This building is still here. It's now a car park. Recently, Network Rail have just rebought this building back again. I don't know what they plan to do with it, but they will be doing something with it. But it's just a glorious piece of Brunel engineering. This is where the original Paddington to Bristol train would have come. Well, thank you for watching the video today. It's been great walking with Josh again, who stood over there leaning against the fence. Poor thing, I think I've broken him. But we're going to get the bus back to our respective towns now, and I will see you on the next video that I shoot. So stay safe, stay tuned, and please subscribe and like. Bye.